Up to this very moment, my hands are still shaking, as I did expect to go through some strange experiences during my 2 last shifts, but not to the extent you are about to discover. Last Sunday, I prepared for the next 2 shifts just like I told you in my previous post. Despite not really knowing what I am up against, I figured that there were some useful things I could get to put myself in some form of advantage, if I may say. Therefore, after a little turn by the supermarket, and using the maximum amount of money I could for that purpose, I came back home with a machete, a nail gun for lack of something better like a pistol, and some fancy flashlights that I was certain to be resistant to electromagnetic disturbance. Upon arriving home with the items, my wife, who was not convinced by how great I had described my new working environment, asked me again a few details about my new job. Once again, not wanting to unearth old matters of contention, I lied to her in order to keep the peace. More on those matters in later posts. On Monday, I arrived at work around 6:33 p.m. and got ready for the shift in a few minutes. Nothing in that place looks extraordinary, I can assure you of that. No matter the time, everything just looks normal and absolutely not out of place. It is just that midnight thing that is the black stain in what I thought would be a bright picture. 5 minutes before the dreaded time, I took the items to the black room and put them in the cupboard, except for the machete. For some reason, I considered the machete more useful than the traditional security guard baton, and I sat with it in front of the monitors, waiting for the scary show to begin. At 12 a.m., the anomaly began as usual at the main entrance as the camera in that area started malfunctioning. Just like during the first night, it roamed around silently, not shaking any door, and passed it in front of the black door at 12:17 am. Of course, due to the distortion, I could not see a thing on the monitor, which in turn really fed my curiosity. I do not know about you, but I am not the kind of person to just obey to a mysterious rule. Can you imagine renting a house, for example, and being told that a specific door must never be open, without even stating the reason why? What if it is because there are human remains there? I made a bold plan to get a glimpse of this mysterious midnight being. I watched its movements on the monitors, which then seemed to me to be patterned and unaltered, as long as no disruption occurs. Also, the contract never mentioned anything about the black room door. I can be in a room without locking the door. Even by leaving the door wide open, I can still be in the room. Following my reasoning, at 12:33 a.m., I stood at the door and opened it just a little, just enough to get a fair view of the corridor. Through the monitors, I saw the thing approaching the black room and got ready to see it with my naked eyes. Something emitting a warm yellow light was approaching, as if in those well-lit corridors, someone was walking around holding a flame torch. Before I could see the source of the light, or the person holding it, or whatever it really was, I felt my heartbeat accelerating. Something just felt wrong, and the hair on my skin rose as if I turned into a frightened cat. I could not allow myself to see what that thing was and quickly closed and locked the door. Once again, it stood right on the other side of the door and did not move from there until Doanal Zialam then disappeared. I came out a few minutes afterwards to a completely normal environment, but kept my machete just in case. The next night on Tuesday was the one with the scheduled load shedding. Once again, I sat down in front of the monitors until the lights went out, plunging me in complete darkness at exactly 12 a.m. At that time, I figured it would really be nice to take a nap, but I realized that there was not even a mattress in the room. After setting an alarm for 1:00 am, I just put the chair against the wall, sat with my legs and arms crossed, and closed my eyes, hoping to sleep as fast as I could. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps in the corridor. Without the aid of the monitors then off because of the load shedding, I could not pinpoint the exact location of the thing, and could not risk opening the door in that total darkness. I just listened attentively till I stood up, getting closer to the door. I retrieved one of the flashlights that I bought in the cupboard and switched it on, only to see the light flickering. Despite that, I could read 12:17 a.m. on the clock as I approached the door again. I heard the rapid footsteps getting further and further, until I could no longer hear them. At 12:22 a.m., they came back. But this time, it sounded like there were at least 4 persons walking quickly instead of just one. What on earth was that? I thought. At 12:38 a.m., they came back again in the black room corridor, then sounding like a whole platoon of soldiers jogging in front of the door. The steps were so heavy that the door was shaking until they just came to an abrupt end, plunging the already dark place in an ominous silence. Out of the blue, the thing outside started banging on the door while trying to open it as the doorknob turned. I fell in fear and started to crawl backwards. I wanted to handle my machete but could not even think of where I had put it, watching the door being forced by the intruder all truff the flickering of the flashlight. Once again, everything just stopped, and the short and deep silence that almost pierced my ears was suddenly broken by the giggle of a woman. Not a friendly giggle, rather like a "I'll get you one day" type of giggle. Who was that? I kept my eyes on the door, trembling in fear, until the alarm on my phone scared me even more when Olo 120M rang and the power came back on. There was no way I could set foot out there before morning. I remained in the black room until the end of my shift, thinking deeply about my situation and my life. I am paid weekly, which means that last week I could at least get half of the pay. I will not lie, that piece of the cake seemed hefty and wiped out a big chunk of my wife and I financial concerns. I came home today morning, seeing my wife and the kids all excited about a few things we could buy for the house and ourselves. There was no way I could take that kind of joy away from them. I just have to keep working. However, before I return to work tomorrow, Thursday, I need to have a serious conversation with somebody.